Hi, it's Jennifer Herron and Brian Cumming. This is Studio 23 Nashville. We are at the grand piano. So tickling of the ivories today.
Featuring our special guest, Steve Conn, an excellent piano player, excellent singer, excellent songwriter. We're having a great time in the studio at this piano.
Some name dropping, some great songwriting, some great history in music, and some
grooves.
soul. Yeah.
We're going to go to Louisiana.
Welcome to Studio 23 Nashville with your hosts Jennifer Herron and Brian Cumming. Today's special guest is Steve Conn.
Hello, welcome to Studio 23 Nashville. We are here at the piano.
Yeah, it's a little hard for me to keep my seat today. I was bopping around like this a little bit when I walked in because y'all were into the music, full swing, warming up. Steve Conn is with us. And to describe him briefly, Louisiana bred soul. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Wow, that's good enough for me.
It's the good stuff. Let's put it that way. Tell us a little bit about your roots. You have some deep history.
Oh, yeah, well, a little bit.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Well, I was born a long, long time ago.
In a land far away.
Well, really, Louisiana is a land far away, and I'm from Louisiana, from central Louisiana, a little town called Pineville, right in the middle of the state. And grew up, I couldn't say, I guess it was a normal childhood. My father was a musician, though. My father was a jazz swing violinist, he loved Bob Wills, that kind of stuff, but really good, and a great singer. And and I grew up, I took piano lessons as a terrible piano student, but I always loved music, and I always made up songs and wrote poetry and stuff like that, and read a lot. And but my father, he died when I was 11, so I didn't really get to hear him play. And so I always thought he was just some hack country fiddle player, because people would say, "Oh, you're great." They'd tell me I was great when I was playing in the bars around there. And I knew I wasn't. And they say, "And your father was great." So I'd say, "Well, I know I'm not, so he probably wasn't either." But I found some tapes back in the 70s of my father, and I was amazed at how incredibly good he was. He was, and you could just hear his love of music. It was a profound experience for me, because I was always, at that point, I was trying to build a music career, and to hear my father and just hear how much fun he was having playing music, I'm still working on having that much fun. I'd go in and out of it, but you could just tell he didn't care.
Yeah.
He just wanted to play. His bass player, I knew all his band, but after Daddy died, his bass player was telling me a story one time that somebody called my father one Saturday morning and said, we need a band tonight. So Daddy said, well, I'll start calling around. And he couldn't get any of the band together. So he calls the bass player back and says, "You want to do it, Phil?" So just the two of them, violin and bass, Daddy called bull fiddle, went and did it because they just loved to play music.
Yeah.
So that's my background. I grew up doing that. I went to Louisiana State University, LSU, got a degree in literature. And
amazing. It seems like your dad, you said, had some brushes with Jimmy Davis. Is that right?
Well, he knew all those people. I actually have a picture of my father, come to think of it, playing fiddle behind Jimmy Davis. And May 23rd, 1959. It was a campaign rally.
For governor of Louisiana?
For governor of Louisiana. And his big hit, of course, was "You Are My Sunshine."
Was Jimmy Davis touring as a musician before he became governor?
I don't know. I think it was kind of part and parcel, because I think he was governor in the early 50s, I believe. And then I'm not really sure how that goes.
"You Are My Sunshine" is a major song.
Oh, it was huge. It's one of the most recorded songs of all time, maybe the most. But so Daddy didn't tour with him, but he knew him, and Daddy, anytime anybody like that came into town, my father would play with them.
What a great history, and that you have that where you can still hear it, even though you weren't there at that time.
Yeah, well, it may have had more effect on me because I didn't hear it, because when I did hear it, I just could not believe how good he was. His fiddle player grew up with the great guitar player Barney Kessel. And so they all loved jazz. Daddy loved jazz. He had a big band for a long time, and playing the Sheik of Araby and stuff like that. And I said one time after, because I really got into violin, Joe Venuti and Stephen Grappelli and all these guys, Steph Smith, and I was saying something about how Daddy reminded me of Joe Venuti, and he said, you know, he was really more like if Stephen Grappelli had grown up in Mississippi, because that's where Daddy was from. It's from Mississippi, but he grew up playing, and he would sneak out and go into these black blues bars after his parents went to sleep about 7 o'clock, and he had a fiddle, and he'd go sit in with those blues bars.
Isn't it amazing how much that blues did affect so many young acts, even the Hank Williams and folks like that made so much music history. Yeah.
And where I'm from is you're not affected by the South Louisiana music, because New Orleans music is a thing of itself. Then Cajun music is off in western Louisiana. That's the Cajun prairies out in Lafayette and around that area. Acadiana, they call it. But where I'm from, we got kind of all of it. Plus we got James Brown, and I got, Dave Brubeck and Bob Dylan. I got all that stuff, not to mention the Beatles. And so
that's a recipe for success. So I can't wait to hear your music. We'll be right back with more of Steve Conn on Studio 23 Nashville.
Hickman County, Tennessee. It feels a lot like home, or how home should feel. Come by, sit a spell. Soak in the goodness that inspired Minnie Pearl to write about this special place. Visit Hickman County, Tennessee's hidden treasure. Do you want to win friends and influence people? Don't buy a book. Advertise on Studio 23 Nashville. It's easy. Just contact us at studio23nashville@gmail.com.
It is a real treat to be here with Steve Conn. Steve, this song, Polishing Chrome, is loaded with details that I think reveal your background as a literature major. To me, it seems like a novel. I feel like I'm in this character, and the details about his career, his condition, his circumstances.
Thanks.
So, have you had experiences like this character, or?
It was a guy I picked up hitchhiking.
It was his story.
His story.
So, did you actually get a lot of words right from him?
Well, there's some lies in there, but mostly it's his story. It was just, I couldn't have made anything like that up as far as those guys.
Yeah.
It was a guy I picked up hitchhiking one day I was going to the ophthalmologist, and I saw him hitchhiking in Lebanon, Tennessee, not Lebanon. Yeah. And so I went to the ophthalmologist, found out that I was going to have really expensive eye surgery, for which I did not have insurance. So, and on the way back, I saw the guy hitchhiking in the other direction with some heavy bags from Kmart. So I said, what's the worst that can happen? It could be an axe murder, and he could kill me, and I won't have to have eye surgery. So I picked him up, and he told me the story. And I mean, that's what, without giving too much of it away, the most interesting thing. Anyway, I felt like a real schmuck after this guy told me his story, and I was feeling sorry for myself. At least I could afford to have eye surgery somehow.
Yeah.
But he told me about these guys that hang out at big truck stops, and essentially they work for tips to wash the trucks or polish the chrome or whatever.
So it's not a job as much as it is.
No, they just hang out, and it's a hustle. It's exactly what it is. And I felt so bad. I took him to the truck stop out on the highway. I just said, good Lord.
Well,
and that's what he had in those bags, was a bunch of polishing, polish.
Yeah. But the thing that comes through in the song is that the guy is so proud of what he does.
Yeah.
He does the best he can, and he does it better than anybody. It's sort of like a songwriter's song, like, let's give
What was
this...
that, the Mac, the song that Jimmy Buffett did, It's My Job to Be Better Than the Rest.
Oh.
There's a Mac, what's his name? You guys know Mac, great Mac, McAnally.
McAnally, great writer.
Great writer,
musician.
and Buffett recorded, Jimmy Buffett recorded it.
Ooh.
It's my job to be better than the rest, and that's enough reason for me, I guess.
Yeah, well, I think you captured it in Polishing Chrome.
Well, thank you.
And it's sort of a left field, it's unexpected. You kind of, like, it's a guy that's down on his luck, literally.
Totally
and
down
suddenly
on his
you
luck.
realize he's really pursuing a
Yeah.
course that has total meaning. I love it. I love it. I love how you write.
Well, thank you.
This one really stands out. I'm glad you chose it among the few that we would do on the show.
Well, good.
All right, you take it off.
Thank
Take
you.
off
Well,
with
let's
it.
try it. Let's see. Thanks for the ride, my friend. They're few and far between. I ain't used to walking, but there's no one to blame but me. I got drunk one night and they took my truck away. They say they'd love to give it back, but there's this fine I got to pay. Now I am a carpenter, Lord, I love the smell of wood. That's what I'd be doing right now if I only could. But a carpenter's gotta have his tools, and Lord, my tools are on my truck. I ain't got time to get around and cry about my luck, 'cause I've been working my fingers to the bone, polishing chrome on the big rigs. I love to see them shine. I can tell when they're rolling down the highway which ones are mine. Most guys just laugh at how I treat them like I wouldn't my own. But those guys are just washing trucks, and I'm polishing chrome. Yes, I'm polishing chrome. All the truckers like me, 'cause I work cheap and I work quick. When I get through, you can see your face and every lug nut on that rig. Well, if the weather holds just one more month and I can keep from getting drunk, I might just have enough money to go rescue my old truck. Sometimes I think I drink too much, but really who's to say? I only drank enough to help me get through the day. Well, I don't mind working hard and I take pride in what I do, but I'd sure give anything to be back in Baton Rouge. And this might be my only ticket home, polishing chrome on the big rigs. I love to see them shine. I can tell when they're rolling down a highway which ones are mine. If I had a hammer, I'd be halfway home, but I'll do what I got to do. And right now that's polishing chrome. Yes, it's polishing chrome. Well, thanks for the ride, my friend. I know you gotta go. I do too, I got work to do. I'll be right here though, polishing chrome. Yeah, I'll be here when the sun comes up and when it goes back down on another day, polishing chrome on the big old rig. Says it's fine, I gotta pay. Hey, I'll be polishing chrome. I'll be polishing chrome.
Steve, I was imagining being in your band on stage in a big arena and just all the big parts that were going to come in. You get those high. You're such a good singer too.
Thanks.
It's so rare to see this much ability all focused in these in one package. Well, it's you don't know what it's like not to be Steve Conn, so why bother comparing, right?
Well, I was given some gifts and I worked really hard at it. I'm still taking voice lessons. I still practice the piano every morning. I do Hannon and Cherney exercises every morning. Now, admittedly, if I had done it when I was a kid, I know I wouldn't have to do it now.
Yeah.
But I did not get that muscle memory that you get when you practice the piano as a child. And I hated piano lessons. I was a terrible, terrible student.
Oh.
Terrible student.
But that at some point in your life.
Well, I loved the piano and I loved playing the piano and I would always play, but I didn't like the lessons.
Yeah.
You're supposed to go through, I think, 2 books a year, and it took me 4 years to go through 2 books.
Well, you were busy learning things that were going to feed your songwriting.
I was, I was more concerned
and singing
with
too.
writing
You're
songs.
you're taking voice just to kind of do
well,
it right.
I'm just trying to get better. I was a terrible singer. None of my early bands would let me sing. I had to form my own band and buy a PA.
You were determined.
I had
golly.
I have my own PA. You can't fire me. So,
that is a strategy for music.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm no
Oh
fool.
my gosh, there's so much for us to relate to. But
Welcome back to Studio 23 Nashville. Brian, Jennifer here, and Steve Conn. He's been educating us a little bit about American music and
All
that
the
big
different
melting
things.
pot we were
Yeah.
talking about of the different sounds and styles. Louisiana in
Yeah,
particular.
well, Louisiana, that's really what I know the most about. Because, as I was saying, I'm from central Louisiana, which is, you have distinct forms. New Orleans has several different kinds of music. Then over in what they call Acadiana, Lafayette, around that area, which is South Louisiana, is all Cajun music. And if you grew up in New Orleans, you don't know anything or care anything about Cajun music. And to an extent, if you grow up in South, and especially in the 60s and 70s and 80s, if you grew up in South Louisiana, you don't care about New Orleans music. And so where I grew up, I was listening to all of it because we got all that stuff, Professor Longhair, just all these different kinds of music. Plus we got, all the other stuff too.
Can you give us a flavor?
Yeah,
of
well,
some of those
in New
different
Orleans,
styles?
you've got different kinds. You got the main guy was a guy named Professor Longhair, and he developed this style that is just really, it's just nobody knows where it came from. I don't think he even knew. But he came up with these incredible piano things that were based also with this incredible groove behind it. I mean, they're all based on this.
that mambo,
It's the
kind of a
clave,
Latin,
Yeah.
based on the clave, which is the. But you're in New Orleans, so you've got African music, you've got Cuban music. That's all coming into there. It's
Caribbean
forming a
stuff,
big melting pot. And then you had a group, the Meters, which was they were the prime progenitors of the funk. So you had all that stuff, and then there's probably other things that I'm not remembering. I mean, you also and the Cajun stuff is. I mean, I can't really play Cajun music on the piano.
You need that squeeze box.
Yeah.
How does Zydeco fit in there?
And see, that's another one because
Another
Cajun is based on mostly. Except it's played on usually a button box, which is an accordion, has 8 buttons, the diatonic accordion, and fiddle. That's the basis of Cajun music. Zydeco is more like it's dance music. It's not always that kind of groove because but it's based on the blues. They're blues based, but it's more of a dance music. Zydeco came about because primarily was popularized by a guy named Clifton Chenier, and he played piano accordion. Instead of the button box, he played piano accordion, and so. But that was for really boogieing down, mostly southwest Louisiana, and Houston, Beaumont, that whole area down into Lake Charles, and that whole area is where you heard a lot of the Zydeco stuff. And the Cajun music is a completely different thing. They're not really because like I said, and Zydeco is the piano accordion. There is some people use one accordion on the other one, but so there's so many different kinds of music in Louisiana.
And you've kind of molded these to form who you are as a musician. So what category do you fall into?
I don't fall into any category.
What are you? Yeah.
And because also I loved Otis Redding and James Brown. I loved Dave Brubeck. I loved all that stuff. I listened to so much Dylan. And I listened to lyrics. I was a literature major. Yeah. And so that was and I was insane. So I was trying to figure out how
you have to be for a musician. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I was trying to find out. I was trying to, discover myself, whatever. And so that's part of the whole thing. So to me, it wasn't so much the music to start as it was trying to find out how to get these words out, try to get these thoughts out and put them with that music. So that's where,
Well, I know you've always been a writer. You've always wanted to write songs, but you've also worked as a musician, a sideman, and in bands, and just kind of. So I mean, they all go together. But when you show up as a musician, and nobody knows that you've written a song, then you've got a different job.
Totally different.
Have you earned a living a lot of your life as a musician then?
I came the closest to making a living as a sideman. I was actually a very successful sideman to that extent. It's an interesting thing because I was kind of successful doing something I really didn't like doing that much.
Really?
Being a sideman.
I didn't really enjoy it that much. I love playing with people here and there, but going out on the road and doing it, I played with a lot of famous people.
Did it cut down and cage your creativity?
Well, I don't want.
Grueling.
It's not interesting to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting to me to play, a couple of songs with somebody, but it's not interesting if you learn those songs. If you go on tour with somebody, like I toured with Hal Ketchum and some of these country artists like Leroy Parnell. They're fantastic, but I've toured with Sheena Easton a lot. She was huge at the time. It was a huge gig. But all you're doing, you might as well be in a top 40 band as far as I'm concerned, because you're playing the same songs every night that you would be playing in a top 40 band. You're just playing them with the person who recorded them. Yeah. So it's not interesting to me because I'm not a great player so that I can just bring this incredible, musicality to it every night.
Well, if you're playing a Sheena Easton hit, you're not allowed to bring
your
musicality into it. You've got a job to do. It's that
I still remember my part on Sugar Walls.
Oh, kind of sends me back to the 80s, right?
That was my part. And so
on a synth.
Oh, exactly, on a synth.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was terrible.
And that didn't turn you on?
No, incredibly no.
Could you break it down to how much you were getting paid per note?
It doesn't matter. It does not. You cannot possibly pay me enough.
Oh my goodness.
I know. Well, like that, is that what we're supposed to get on stage and do? And get bored?
But so I took that gig. Then I met Bonnie Raitt through that. So that's why. That's at the point I thought, well, that's why you do this.
Yeah.
And so I worked with Bonnie and different people like that. And those gigs are fun. I mean, Bonnie, it doesn't get any better than that as far as
I have heard that from several musicians that we have spoken to. I was a fan to begin with, but everybody just raves about her and working with her and how she treats fellow musicians and anybody.
Well, she's such a musician, and she's been doing it all her life, and she's respectable.
That's amazing. You've actually done what we do, right? You were with NPR?
I worked on a show. I was the musical director for a show called E-Town, which is still on. It's been on for 25 years now, I believe.
Nashville Public Radio?
It's national. It's a national show. It's out of Boulder, Colorado.
Okay.
And the hosts are Nick and Helen Forster. And that's how I met so many people. That's how I met Emmylou Harris and Sam Bush and Maura O'Connell and James Taylor did the show and Bruce Hornsby did the show. And, it was the early days of what we now call Americana.
Yeah. Was it in the studio and
we did it live in the Boulder Theater. So it was before a live audience. It was a live show. It was a music show, but they were Nick and Helen were the interviewers. Nick is a fantastic interviewer. He was in a group called Hot Rise with Tim O'Brien at the time. And they we did it, we always taped it live. They still tape it live. And just so would be responsible for getting all the music together every week, because we would usually have 3 different musical artists. Michelle
Was it
Shocked.
a 30-minute show? Or
You know, we taped about an hour and a half, and I think they brought it down to an hour. It was an hour show. There was a lot of music,
Yeah.
and it was environmentally based, so we had a lot of environmental people on there. So
Nice.
it was really fun.
Very
Did that for 2 years, and that was the most fun as a sideman I've ever had, because it was different.
it's
people
different every time. Yeah.
every week.
And musical quality. Was Levon Helm ever on it?
No, but I did get to play with Levon. I got to play accordion with Levon on the Wait. That was one of the high points of my life.
Oh, where?
At the Ryman,
Oh,
right here in
Steve.
Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, the Ramble at the, is that what it was called?
It was before that. It was before that. I don't know. There's a lot of people on stage, but there's
Yeah.
that's actually on the YouTubes.
That's amazing. Do you ever do that? Google yourself?
Oh no, I would never do that.
Yes.
Don't be ridiculous.
I think it's wonderful.
No.
And sometimes you don't know people have captured something on you, and you're like, where did this come from?
Oh,
Yeah, that's
that's
what
what
I'm
we
afraid
looked like
of.
back in the 70s and 80s.
Oh, thank God they
Okay.
didn't. Thank God Facebook wasn't here in the 70s. Oh.
I love
Oh,
it. Incriminating. Can't get away with anything.
Yeah.
We'll be right back with more of Steve Conn, Brian, and myself over here in Studio 23 Nashville.
Straighten up and flat right.
Now available, Come Out Swingin', the new CD by the Brian Cumming Jazz Quartet. Come Out Swingin' is available at studio23nashville.com and all major digital retailers.
Say, come out swinging.
Come Out Swingin' by the Brian Cumming Jazz Quartet. Get yours today. Be the envy of the neighborhood. Make your friends jealous. Be the first on your block to get official swag from Studio 23 Nashville, Pinkerton Productions, and Brian Cumming. Just visit our store at the bottom of the page and order yours today.
Steve, we're going to do this song that you let me know is about the daughter of a woman you were married to.
Yes.
But she's not your flesh and blood daughter,
No.
but you had very strong feelings for her.
Oh, well, yeah, she's just the closest I'll ever have to a daughter. She's just an absolute sweetheart. And her mother sent me her picture. Actually, I was there. I was on tour in San Francisco when she was born. And so we went, and we got to see her when she was just a couple of days old. But then her mother sent me her baby picture, and you could just tell this was an old soul.
It's
And
a
it was the most,
beautiful
I'm
face.
not usually inspired by something like that, and I'm a really slow songwriter. I can take anywhere from 6 months to 10 years to finish a song once I get the idea. That was one that came pretty fast because I was so inspired is really kind of a light word for, I was so just overwhelmed by the beauty and the innocence and how much I knew that child was going to learn
Yeah.
and what that would be, good, bad, or ugly. You know, just thinking about, oh man, what the world is going to throw at her, what will she draw from that? And she has grown into just, I mean, everything you could possibly hope.
Well, that's a wonderful song.
Because of
It's
the
just-
song, I'm sure.
It's nice to take
And
a
she has wonderful parents. Her family, are just fantastic people. And one thing they did was they never had network television. They still have they have a television in their house, and you don't know it because they keep a tapestry over it, and they only have it for movies. So the kids grew up. It was so wonderful going to their house. Anytime I'd go visit when the kids were growing up, her Eliana and her sister Zoe and her brother Austin, on Saturday morning, instead of the television playing cartoons, I woke up first Saturday morning, I hear this, clitter clatter, and I go in there, and they're all sitting on the floor playing board games.
Yeah.
You just don't see that.
Acoustic entertainment.
Oh
Yeah. Man.
It was fabulous.
Analog. I know. It's just, it seems like it's more real, more in touch with who we really are instead of a machine that separates
Yeah,
us
and
from-
I think that had I
Yeah.
mean, that's why as she grew into the incredible woman that she is now. Because I wrote this song. She just graduated from Berkeley. So
Just speaking as a songwriter, the way you wrote the chorus and it just goes, oh, Eliana. To me as a songwriter, that's just, it's kind of like, why didn't he say anything more than, oh? but the O is a way to open up into the, this world that a child inhabits, that we just recognize there's something so beautiful there, and there's almost too much to say. And so by simply going,
Well, that must be why I said it, because it was not premeditated. I mean, I just
it felt it. Yeah.
Because that was so much.
Well, this song moves people, and I'm really glad to be doing it with you.
Well,
So-
thank you. I'm glad
so
to have you playing.
Take us to the world of
Let's see.
Eliana.
I see this child lying in your arms, laughing at our crazy world. Everything's funny and bright and new to this little angel girl. She doesn't care if the phone don't ring. She doesn't care if it rains. She couldn't care less if Pope Francis runs off with the King of Spain. Eliana, lend me your eyes, let me see what you see. Oh, Eliana, no one has told her she ought to be thin. No one has broken her heart. No one has told her that she's just a woman. She's not afraid of the dark. No one has told her that love can't last, or the dreams don't ever come true. And no one has told her that people are strange if they don't look just like you. Eliana, lend me your eyes, let me see what you see. Oh, Eliana, we learn our lessons early on, and then we close our minds. We see what we expect to see. We might as well be blind. There's so much to know about life on earth, such a delicate balance to find. You wanna be ready for all the pain without leaving the joy behind. I guess we should tell her it ain't all roses. There's plenty of heartache and lies. How about if you give her all the bad news, and I sing her sweet lullabies? Eliana, lend me your eyes, let me see what you see. Oh, Eliana, oh, Eliana.
On your record, there's a beautiful violin solo.
Chris Carmichael.
Yeah. It's
His
just
birthday was just a few days ago.
wow. So I'm hoping that a soprano
Oh
sax
yeah,
inserted
yeah,
is not going to.
I had a lot of trouble figuring out what solo to put on that. The original had, I may have told you, that had melodica. I played melodica.
Oh.
But I'd already played a melodica solo on the record, and I didn't want to have two of them. So
Out of 11 or 12 songs,
Yeah.
it's easy to get too much melodica.
well, you know, and there was some accordion too. People, you know,
Okay.
it was probably, but I needed something with that sound. I didn't know what to do. Anyway, Chris was there, and he just
Yeah,
volunteered
the
to do
strings
it.
are a real nice addition there.
Yeah.
You've got-
Studio 23 Nashville would like to thank our sponsors, the Hickman County Chamber of Commerce and World Music Nashville.
Very happy to have Steve with us. We've got a lot of stories about Louisiana, Colorado, Nashville, lots of places. Did you ever play overseas?
Where is that? I've toured. I've toured a few times. My first tour of Europe was with Albert King, the great blues guitarist.
Whoa! So, what key does he like to play in?
He liked. God, that's a good question. I think A. I think
Yeah.
A because his guitar was tuned. I can't remember. The guitar player figured out what it was. It's either E or A. Now, I played with Gatemouth Brown.
Yeah,
Gatemouth
so-
Brown only played in the key of E. He would
With a
put a
capo.
capo. If you played an E flat, he would just put the
Really?
capo on the 11th fret. And so it was incredibly out of tune on the 11th fret.
Did you play with Gatemouth?
Yeah, I toured
Now,
with Gatemouth.
would you say Gatemouth is a little more of a jazz-flavored blues player?
Oh yeah, we did these.
Was he from Kansas City or something like that? Or
I think he was from Beaumont or somewhere. I'm not positive, but he grew up around the time that T-Bone Walker.
oh yeah,
He grew
real
and
Texas
so,
stuff.
Yeah, so did that real Texas. So his early stuff from the late '40s was real jazzy, big band stuff with Gate playing, guitar,
Big
on,
band.
playing a solid body guitar on top of it, and
But
then he
Albert
also,
is a more of a straight ahead.
straight
classic
blues.
Was he
man,
from the
straight
Delta or
blues.
something?
He's
or-
from Mississippi. Yeah,
Yeah.
That
straight
area.
blues.
So
So we did a tour of Europe. That was 1980, I believe, and that was mostly Scandinavia, I believe.
Some
But we
festivals?
played Royal Albert Hall and in London and
because he's a big name, appreciated pretty much
oh yeah,
over
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Was it a quartet? You were.
No, man, it was like an 8-piece band,
Oh, my
big horn
goodness.
band, big, piano. He had another electric guitar player, and I think 4 horns. I remember three or 4 horns. Yeah, it was a big.
Did you help put it together musically? Or?
Oh Lord, no.
okay.
I just tagged along. It was not a good experience.
Oh, so
I'm really incredibly glad I got to play with him.
yeah.
It's one of those things I tell people and
They got-
brag about, but
That's it.
I really shouldn't have been there. It was, but that was the first time. And then I toured a lot with my friend Sonny Landreth, great guitar player, and we
Overseas?
toured a bunch of times.
You were telling me before that you went to school. Was it with Sonny? No, it was Mike Doucet. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
Sonny, you met in the '70s, but he's from Louisiana.
Sonny and Michael Doucet of Beausoleil, which is the biggest Cajun band of all time, probably, and Zachary Richard, who was a huge star back in the '80s and '90s, and still putting out records, and Sam Broussard, one of the best guitar players you'll ever hear, all graduated from Lafayette, Louisiana high schools the same year. It's really an amazing thing to me. These guys are so different and yet so incredible. But Sonny and I met the same time I met Sam Broussard in the summer of 1975 in Colorado, actually. I moved up there because I just heard about the great music scene and to get away from the heat in Louisiana. So,
And
Oh,
Sonny has
brilliant.
made a thing out of slide. I mean, that's his,
Sonny is
I don't know if you've
Sonny.
heard of him, but he's one of these amazing players.
He is the standard. I mean, he's just created a thing that no one else can really do,
Right.
and he's
He's
good.
all over your album. You know, and,
Yeah.
and it's a chance to hear what Sonny
These
sounds like.
CDs?
Yeah.
He'll hit a note and it starts to change, like as if he's going, wow. You know, it's like he's singing.
Well,
It's
he's
he's
just-
got so much control over the instrument, and it's so expressive.
Yeah, he has totally created a totally different style, and he's really, I mean, he's the kind of guy who hangs out with Eric Clapton and Mark Knopfler and people like that. But that we toured Europe, he's actually going back there. He's playing with Jimmy Buffett there and doing some dates with his band in Poland this summer. But I haven't been back to Europe, and I haven't been there in years. I think the last time I was there was Paris.
But Sonny is doing a new record that you're involved in.
It just came out, and we actually, that was really fun. We did two, it was a live album, which is terrifying, especially when you're with the caliber of these musicians. Sonny Landers is as good as it gets. Sam Broussard is as good as it gets on
Right.
regular guitar, and me. And a fabulous rhythm section. The drummer and bass player are just fabulous, but it was really terrifying. The first set was acoustic with me just playing accordion, and that was some of the most fun I've had ever playing. It was just getting to play blues accordion. You just don't get to play that anywhere else. And the second set was the usual Sonny show, which is, you know, kind of rockin' Cajun-ish, Zydeco-ish. They call him the king of Slideco because he has made this whole style of music.
But don't you find when you're with people like that you kind of, their energy rubs off on you? You fit
absolutely.
in, you grow, yeah.
Well, but you know, I've just narrowed it down. We've talked about being a sideman. He's one of the only people I do it with. You know, when I play with somebody else, I might do a gig here or there. And actually, I don't play with Sonny that much. He plays in my band sometimes, and it's so fun because he has to kind of do my thing. When I play with him, I do his thing, but it's just so challenging and invigorating.
Nice. Now you played on what, 9 Grammy nominated albums?
I think it's been 9.
Jeez.
Yeah.
What an accomplishment.
Yeah, you know, I've never had a Grammy, a nomination for my own music. That would be, to me, for my own songwriting, that would be the real
working
Grammy.
on it.
But it has been an honor, you know, playing with people like the Dixie Chicks and Kenny Loggins. I did a live, they did a live DVD with him outside from the Redwoods, and Bonnie Raitt. I was on a Grammy-winning album with her, and Beausoleil, we had a Grammy nomination. A lot of people like that. Joel Sonnier, actually, another Cajun.
Bunch of different styles too.
Totally different styles.
Yeah.
Did you
Absolutely amazing.
study accordion to develop the skills, or was it kind of a natural outgrowth of the piano?
No.
It's just, you
I
just
didn't
pick it up.
study what? I didn't even study the piano.
Oh.
I studied how, you
Those are
remember.
the best musicians, the ones that
It's
build
just
their
that-
own style.
I'll never forget
No
when I
books.
was telling Brian earlier that you're supposed to go through 2 books a year in the particular course I was taking when I was a kid on the piano, and it took me 4 years to go through two books. But I remember when we got to Swanee River, I just loved it, you know. And so I was playing it, and the piano teacher was going, "That's great, that's great." And then she realized I wasn't looking at the music. She said, "You're not playing the notes." So she busted me. But no, I just started playing because I was listening to a bunch of Cajun and Zydeco stuff. I had a band in Boulder, Colorado called Gree Gree. We were doing a lot of the funk stuff, and Professor Longhair, and the Meters, and the Wild Chapatulas, and all that stuff. And so I started throwing in some Cajun Zydeco stuff, Clifton Chenier, and so picked up an accordion and started playing, and just kind of learned how. So when I moved to town, there was really not anybody else doing it that I know of. So I got a lot of work when I first moved to Nashville, because I would mostly what I do is just kind of play background stuff. And then all the keyboard players realized that what I was doing really wasn't that hard.
So they began to get
So they're
accordions.
all going to pawn shops and getting accordions.
Yeah.
And I said, man, let my secrets out here.
Oh no, that's great.
But,
So you're mostly in town and available if I need an accordion player?
oh, yes.
Okay. And then you've got the new record coming out.
I'm working on a new record now. Yeah, working assiduously at it. Working very hard at a new record. I have a bunch of new songs. I have all the basic tracks have been done. And some great players on it. Ryan Owings on drums, Dave Francis on bass,
Yeah.
and Ron Oaf is also playing bass. Joe McMahon on guitar. Joe Davies is also playing guitar. Sonny Landreth is playing guitar. So I hope.
And what style? You got different styles on the CD blended together, or is there a specific
It's
style
all
you
just
nailed
my
for it?
stuff, you know. I just don't know what it is. I love ballads. It's lyric intensive, soulful. It's not, you can't call it singer-songwriter stuff, really.
I noticed when I put your CD into my iTunes and it has a category, it was saying country and western.
Well, right.
Really?
Yeah. So let me just assure you, that's not right.
But they couldn't call you R&B.
Well,
and they couldn't
I don't
call
know
you-
what to tell
Pinpoint
them.
it. Yeah.
I have no idea what it is. It's just music. I like to think it's soulful and meaningful. I'm extremely serious about lyrics, even when they're supposedly funny.
Yeah.
I'm usually, because I'm really sarcastic.
And you have to do it right.
You have to do it right. I work really hard on lyrics, and I work really hard on the music, but the music comes much more naturally. Music,
Yeah.
And these are your previous CDs then? Beautiful Dream
yes.
and a self-titled one as
Yes.
well? Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, the new one it'll be a while. I'm still working on it. It's gonna take
You
me
can
a
do
while.
graduals. Now they've got all these downloads. So I'll see where people release a single, then another single, then another single, and it kind of adds up to an album in the end.
I could do that, but my demographic is not so good with the downloads.
Yeah. Well, have you heard that cassettes are making a comeback?
What's that? Oh yeah.
Cassettes.
Yeah.
There was a big news story on this the other
My
day. I'm
first,
like,
my
cassettes?
very first album in 1984
Yeah.
was only released on cassette.
Really?
Yeah, so my
you're after
producer,
the 8 tracks.
producer I was talking
Yeah.
about, I told him that the other day. I said, man, cassettes are coming back. He said, really? I got a warehouse full of them.
They are. It is great.
Yeah.
So if you can find a player.
Yeah.
His dad's music was on tape.
Oh, I
right?
still have a cassette
Yeah,
player because
there
I
we
still
go.
have some stuff on cassette.
It's good stuff.
We got more with
God,
Steve
Steve,
Conn
this is
coming up on Studio 23 Nashville.
Yeah.
Straighten up and flat right.
Now available, Come Out Swingin', the new CD by the Brian Cumming Jazz Quartet. Come Out Swingin' is available at Studio23Nashville.com and all major digital retailers.
Say, come out swinging.
Come Out Swingin' by the Brian Cumming Jazz Quartet. Get yours today. Hickman County, Tennessee. It feels a lot like home, or how home should feel. Come by, sit a spell. Soak in the goodness that inspired Minnie Pearl to write about this special place. Visit Hickman County, Tennessee's hidden treasure.
Well, I was born to change the world through the genius of my art. But lately I have realized that time is running short. Well, I'd rather get the glory now while I can revel in the accolades. But it's looking more and more like I am gonna miss my own parade. Well, I'll be famous when I'm dead. Well, I'll be famous when I'm dead. You hear it on the news, you'll remember what I said. I'll be famous when I'm dead. Someone will write a book about this visionary man. How I could take a simple truth and make it hard to understand. There'll be a special on PBS and a chair at LSU. Beyonce and the boss will say that I was all they ever listened to. Well, I'll be famous when I'm dead. Well, I'll be famous when I'm dead. TV, you remember what I said. I'll be famous when I'm dead. Well, I guess there's still the chance I will get my props before my final bout. But just in case I have hedged my bets, I guess you know that by now. Well, thanks again for dropping by. I really hope you come back soon. I gotta run. I guess you heard there's a cleanup on aisle 2. Well, I'll be famous when I'm dead. I'll be famous when I'm dead. When you hear about the movie, you'll remember what I said. I'll be famous when I'm dead. When you hear about the All-Star Grammy-winning box set tribute DVD, you'll remember what I said. Well, I'll be famous when I'm dead.
Steve, you cover songs that are funny and songs that are sad and songs that make you want to dance, and sometimes all in one.
That's
And,
what I'm trying to do.
Well, do you think that you're going in a particular place when you start a song? Does sometimes a song surprise you and head off in a direction?
You know, I almost always write from melody. I almost always have a musical
Melody
idea.
driven. Okay.
And I say melody, I usually have, what happens, I just sit and play
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
And things come out. And so sometimes, and I'll tell you what happens more often than not, is that I'm working on a song and another song comes out.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm working on a song for a long time, because I will work on them sometimes for months or years. Not every day, but it's still in the back of my mind, or I have the idea, and I always have several musical ideas going. And so I think a lot of times when I'm distracted with one song, this other thing will come in, and I finish that song, and the song I originally started on doesn't happen. But then the lyrics, I write in a journal every day, just trying to get things out and trying to keep from being so crazy. And it helps.
It is therapy.
It's very
Yeah.
therapeutic. It really keeps me grounded, and a lot of that, I draw from a lot of that, and I get ideas. I like to tell stories. I really like story songs. But most story songs and most folk songs and most really lyric intensive songs are folk based. If you listen to them, when you hear a real melodic song, you don't usually hear the lyrics are not great. We've had this discussion about the Beatles.
Yeah.
Beatles are great, but if I'm looking for deep lyrics, I don't go to the Beatles.
Yeah.
And so I grew up reading great literature and listening to Dylan and Randy Newman, especially Randy Newman, Tom Waits.
Yeah.
Those
yeah.
guys just turned me around.
Did you like Harry Chapin?
Loved Harry Chapin.
Yeah.
But and so I'm trying
Yeah.
to incorporate all these things. Sometimes you get them all in one song, but sometimes it's several songs. But I'm trying to incorporate groove
Yeah.
and melody and interesting harmony with great lyrics. But I try not to sacrifice. If I sacrifice anything, it's not going to be the lyrics. As a rule, I mean, I could do it. Maybe I am. Maybe they're not really that good. But I think. But I work really hard at every word. So, but I work from the music first. A lot of people
I
work
find
from
that
home.
impressive because when people will have a bunch of words, sometimes they'll put them there and try to make the music
Yeah.
fit, and it doesn't flow.
I
So
can
find that
usually tell what
impressive.
kind of
Yeah.
songwriters do that.
Yeah.
Just in small, like Joni Mitchell, you can usually tell that she had these great lyrics. I say that, I think I know so much about these things. I was working with, what's her name, Rory Block, great guitar player. And I was doing a show with her one night playing piano. And I said, well, I was trying to work on that song, but I said, that's such a guitaristic thing you're doing there. She looked at me and she said, I don't remember who it was, but she said, that comes straight from, and she named some piano player. And I just wasn't aware of the literature, so I didn't know what I was talking about, obviously. But
you're not one of those program songwriters that sits in a room and is supposed to churn out 2 songs a day or so many a week or whatever else. Yeah.
no, it's coming strictly from my heart, Randy Newman used to do that. He would rent a little building and just go drive across town to, I think it was in Culver City, and just had a piano in there, and he would just go in there and make himself go sit there for 8 hours a day until the record was finished.
Yeah.
But I love the process of writing songs. I don't like trying to get the song started, but once the song is started, it's to the closest I get to religion or to heaven, I'm going to say that.
Yeah.
It's such a spiritual high.
Yeah.
Putting the words with the music, there's something about it, man. When you get that right word with that right lyric and it flows beautifully. One of my favorite songs that I've written is a song called Beautiful. And when I finished that song, I literally got down on my knees and said, thank you, God. That's what I was trying to do. And I've never really done it to that level since.
Well, this conversation just reminds me of how much is involved in this creative process. There's so many writers that we can admire, like Harry Chapin or one of Dylan's long story songs. The lyric content is amazing, and they're 3 chords. And you kind of, if you're playing it, you kind of, okay, here we go again, here we go again. It's not very interesting musically, but that's kind of the point, because you don't want to lose your attention on the lyrics.
And that's the challenge.
But then here you come with all of this musicianship, all this imagination about grooves and harmony and all that, and so it's kind of, I guess one act that we haven't mentioned yet that it really represents a lot of quality, and the lyrics are really good, is Steely Dan.
Oh, yeah.
And I hear some Fagan flavor in some of your, but it's probably just because you're a piano player and he writes.
I think so, because I people say that a lot, and I absolutely love Fagan and I love Steely Dan, but I never did listen to them. I don't, I'm
well,
not.
it's sort of like you came down the road of, I'm knowledgeable about music and I've heard these things and I'm going to create, and then they came down the road and y'all have landed in similar places, not because you were copying each other, but because you were influenced by
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Little Feat's kind of the same way.
Oh, yeah. Did
Because
you
I
know
think-
about Little Feat, that
Yes.
rock band?
Yes.
Dixie Chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lowell George was just a scary
Oh,
thing
it's
there,
unbelievable.
because it
His
was
solo
so,
record was just fantastic.
so daring, and he was so inventive, but funky.
Yeah.
Boy, and a singer. Whoa.
Yeah.
There are very few white guys that you can believe
Yeah.
when they kind of do that.
Get that
I
punk
got
going,
the blues
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Him and Greg Allman and
Yeah.
Tom Waits has his own particular weirdness that you have to take it.
Yeah,
for what it is.
I loved Tom Waits was one of the guys who turned me on to the story song thing so much. Now, Tom Thumb's blues and those, short change got rained on by his own 38. Man, I saw lines like that and thought, because I grew up listening to things like, one of the great lines in country music, I turned 21 in prison doing life without parole. Mama tried. Now that's great stuff, but mostly country music. I grew up playing a lot of that stuff, but not most of it's
But
not
Tom
really.
Waits would always take it to an interesting musical place.
Yeah.
It seemed like he's just so
Oh,
wild.
man.
He just,
There you
It's Tom Waits. Please call me baby.
go. I love it.
Oh, man, that kind of stuff, just great.
I got to see Tom Waits at a club in Atlanta in the early 70s. I didn't know who he was. I just went, wow, this is cool. He had himself, he had a drummer that was playing nothing but brushes on a snare, and he had a trumpet player doing music.
Classic.
Like, it was so out there. These are guys he took on the road. This is what he chose to put together for his band, and it was just
Well, that's the
loaded
kind of
with it.
stuff, man. I just hearing that kind of stuff. I want to move people. I want people to think, but that's the challenge. If you get them to think too much,
Yeah.
then
It is.
I
It
had
is
a-
a challenge. That's like your role in life is to bring together the thoughtful lyrics with the music that actually
oh man,
moves
John
into it.
Prine.
Yeah.
Look at those lyrics. They're so simple, and yet they move you so
Yeah.
deeply.
Yeah.
You know, I had a publisher in Nashville tell me this is this is a big moment for me, and I'm not going to say a big moment in a good way, but this is toward the end of my trying to shop my songs in Nashville, and she said, the problem with this stuff is I think you're trying to say something. The problem with this stuff is you're trying to say something, and I don't think anybody wants to hear it. And that was heartbreaking to me. Just because I just thought, well, if that's the way she feels, these are not the people I'm interested in trying to reach, because I'm trying to reach people.
Yeah.
I'm trying to communicate.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get people to help me figure out why I'm crazy.
And that's tough too for a musician in some venues, because some venues are loud and rowdy, or they're hopping around
Yeah.
dancing or doing different things. So to grab that
And
attention,
those are
hold
that's
it,
the
and
job.
break through.
That's the musician's
Yeah.
work environment.
And that's why I'm talking about being a side band, all of those other things. That's why I quit doing that. I just won't do it. I only will play in a listening room.
I can't wait.
That's
What's
why I
your
don't work
website,
for
by
them.
the way, Steve?
Well, interestingly enough, SteveConn.com.
CONN. Easy enough.
Get
SteveConn.com.
connected.
Check it out. Can't wait for the new music. Thanks for joining us here on Studio 23.
Thank you
Nashville.
so
It's been a
much
great
for having me.
pleasure.
It's been a joy.
Amazing.